Hello, YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast, and we are going to be reviewing One Piece Chapter 1086, The Five Elder Planets. This is Akainu Fanboy. The other guy is Geboss.
Yo.
Please like and subscribe if you have not. And so the curtains drew close on the reverie before the news of King Cobra's murder came to light, and so we basically see all the royals kind of freaking out a little bit and trying to get off, and then you see King Wapol and his girl Vivi trying to get out of there, and then we basically see their escape while CP0 is basically trying to find Sabo and Vivi.
So I was gonna say it's interesting how they contacted Morgan's, because
Yes.
I don't know, it just seems like it's kind of weird to jump to, oh, we're hiding, let's go to Morgan's, he'll hide us.
Yeah.
I don't know, it seems kind of not out of character, because Morgan's always wants the scoop, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's kind of this understanding that if you exchange information, you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and we see that Vivi...
One thing it did...
I was going to say Vivi doesn't know that her father's dead. So I guess she had to learn about that from Morgan's.
Yeah, and one thing I did kind of find interesting was, maybe it's nothing, but that panel with Spandam right here. There's someone holding a poster of Sabo, but we don't see their face, basically.
I mean, I just assumed that it was just a regular government thing, because you see him in the other panel behind the tall CP0 agent. You see him in the corner there. It's kind of the similar outfit.
Yeah, but I think that one's holding a gun though in the right hand, not a poster.
I mean, it's not the same, but it's probably the same rank.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I was just reading too much into it or anything. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting shot. But it was all. Speaking of shots, it was interesting to see how much Sabo got ripped apart.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of saw how bad he got it last time, but maybe people were underestimating it.
Yeah, it looks pretty lethal, and it's not something he can. Obviously hockey induced because look at he's not being able to reheal or anything, with his current position and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of going down a little bit more. Basically, the story is spreading around and everything. And so, who are your thoughts? He seems to have a checkered fate. How else can you account for him constantly being surrounded by those who bear the letter D? Would you say Sabo is who they're referencing right here?
Well, in the first panel, they say the man they call Sabo. He seems to have a checkered fate. So yeah.
Oh wait, shoot. Yeah, okay. My bad. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay,
but yeah, you think about it. Yeah. He grew up with Ace and Luffy, and he got picked up by picked up by Dragon, and and Garp. He met Garp too, I think. But yeah, and he oh no, he didn't come in contact with Vivi. Because we have to add her to the list now of
yeah, that's
these.
true.
But yeah. So I guess during this whole thing with the reverie, was what was happening on Egghead were all those Cypherpole agents disappearing. So that's why they were talking about that.
Yes. And then they basically talk about the use of the weapon right here. And basically little to no pushback from the five elder planets against the idea of destroying a whole kingdom, even though there's a lot of people that live there.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting because later on in the chapter we get Dragon talking and Ivankov talking about Vegapunk. Because Emu says time has come to put Vegapunk's invention to the test, use the mother flame. So, from what Dragon was saying later on in the chapter, and from what we've seen, Vegapunk doesn't really make straight up weapons. He creates the technology, and the government uses it for for their own evil means.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting because we had been theorizing that it was maybe Uranus or a different weapon. And they allude to that too a little bit. Ivankov does. Yeah, we got kind of not a lot of things answered, but more revealed to us.
Yeah, so this might be jumping forward a little bit, but so it was kind of interesting that in reference to the weapon and everything, that like, okay, so basically they talk how it's like an enormous shadow with the clouds and everything, and they talk about the connection with Emu and the 800 years ago, and that there's a connection with the name and everything like that. But then there was also kind of like that possibility that there's ancient weapons, right? And that they do in fact exist. But if this person has such a weapon, why not wait till use it until now? So Dragon seems to think it's like an ancient weapon, though, right?
That's true, but maybe he thinks that, but it seems like the Gorosei just straight up say like it's Vegapunk's, or Emu says that. But maybe Vegapunk knew about it because of the research from the poneglyph, and he like adapted it. You know what I mean?
Make it like a fake one.
Or kind of like incorporated some of the technology into it.
Yeah, like modified it maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because it's interesting how, because that was kind of a theory, right? That it was going to be an ancient weapon, and so maybe both can be true. One does not necessarily falsify the other and everything like that. But it is, Dragon does kind of bring up an interesting point, though. It's like, why did they wait so far to use it now, basically?
Yeah. I mean, I guess we can call them their names now. Saturn says that they haven't had the chance to try it out before. So it seems like kind of a relatively newer invention. But yeah, I'm interested to see. But when Kobe was describing like, sorry, Kobe, Sabo, I got him confused with the better character.
Yeah, that's true.
About the dark clouds overhead, that it reminded me a lot of Skypiea and the Arc Maxim. Because you would assume that from the bottom, from when you couldn't see it above the clouds, that's what it looked like. And the more we go into it, it seemed like Skypiea was kind of a dry run for this end of the series, because we got Nika, we got the whole concept of gods and everything.
Yeah, the introduction of Sanji. Well, I know it's more Jaya, but with Mr. Prince and all that, in relation to Nolan and North Blue, all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, but But yeah.
So, what do you does anything kind of stick out to you in reference to their names?
I mean, I was reading comments about this, and I mean, we have pretty much all the planets accounted for now, except for Earth. because Saturn, Mars. I guess the way you can read Top Man Valkyrie is like the man Curry Mercury, and then Saint Ethan Baron, Venus Juro Venus, and then Saint Shepherd Jupiter. So it's interesting how they how Oda incorporated the planets' names into their names rather than straight up. Although I think my favorite is Marcus Mars.
Yeah.
It's simple and to the point, but I think these are like the longest that we've gone without having people named in the whole series. And now we just can't call them Gandhi and Gorbachev and that.
Right. And I think it's kind of what I did kind of find interesting also is that there was this running theory that Dragon was the most dangerous person in the world because he knew about Emu and Emu's identity. And that kind of got destroyed today.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Dragon gave no indication that he knew.
I mean, that could up Sabo's bounty because they knew that he survived and saw. Or they probably thought he died on Lulucia because they said about him being on there and they intercepted the call.
Yes. And so I think there's kind of like a further question now of like, I don't know, like why is Dragon the most wanted person in the world now? You know?
I mean, maybe because of the Revolutionary Army, but again, we haven't, besides like people being like these past, 8 kingdoms that revolted, we haven't really heard much about the revolutionaries and their bigger impact on the world. I don't know. We'll see more of them, but yeah, Dragon stocks have not been looking that great.
Yeah, see, because that was the main theory, basically, is that he knew about Emu, and which is why he's so valuable and all this stuff. And it's like, no, that wasn't the case. So, yeah, Sabo figured it out though, and now we do see the goat Akainu here, where they talk about the kingdom of Tajin and the Aegis kingdom are both rebelling. They talk about kind of the chaotic situation with the warlords being disbanded and everything. And then they deploy the Seraphim. And I guess, from what we can tell, we can infer heavily they made short work of the rebellions.
Well, I think that... I'm trying to remember. It was the one chapter where Sabo was called the Flame Emperor. I think there were a number of countries that did revolt, but only some of them were successful.
Okay.
So I want to say there were like 11, but I may just be pulling that out of my butt.
Okay.
But yeah, speaking of Seraphim, we finally see the Seraphim Dofi, who we thought was going to be on Egghead.
Yeah.
And then Moria, who Loki just has a better design than regular Moria.
And no, false.
Okay, you can have giant bowling pin man.
Well, he's still the strongest Seraphim though, so I'm not gonna take that away from him.
No, that's gonna be Crocodile, who. So we saw Crocodile as a kid, and he didn't have the scar. So is the scar genetic, or is it aesthetic, or what? But I've already seen people saying like, oh, this is going to be how Crocodile is revealed to be a woman because of the Seraphim.
He looks exactly the same.
I mean, I could see it. It looks androgynous enough.
I guess.
We'll see. Whoever's still on the Crocomom agenda.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I go, and so it seems like the crocodile seraphim. So he's on the Umpteenth Bluffs Island. So maybe this crocodile seraphim will come into contact with him.
Well, wasn't I think so? I think around this time was when Empty Bluffs. That's where the Cross Guild's at with Buggy. So
Okay,
I think
gotcha,
they're. I think retroactively they're reporting back like, oh, he showed up to help Buggy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's how that went.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that'll be interesting to see how that carries on and everything. And yeah, they basically kind of talked about the Lucia uprising and everything like that too. And yeah, kind of like a recap of what we've already been knowing, basically, you know. But Sabo explaining how he got off in detail and everything like that.
I think it's interesting that we have that Emu's maybe from the House Neurona. I don't know exactly if that's referencing anything or what. Did you have any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, no, it didn't really come to attention really, but I did think it's interesting, like, yeah, further clarification that one of the original founding members of the world government, a celestial dragon and everything. The thing is, Emu actually seems like a competent celestial dragon, which is kind of rare, you know?
Well, it's probably like the celestial dragons were probably more competent back in the day, and they just kind of bred out into what they are now in terms of like laziness or whatever. So
yeah, because I assume like all the OG ones were just really broken and powerful, and that's how they formed the government.
Yeah.
You know. And then yeah, you're right. Their descendants just became fat and lazy off of their success and everything, you know.
Just like the real monarchies in the real world.
Or just the children just kind of like who are spoiled off of their parents' wealth and all the rest, and they become unimpressive, right?
Yeah. I also really quick, I just wanted to point out with Emu again. I have to keep referencing their names. Mars kind of said an interesting line. He said, "The world moves at the will of the creator." And I checked both of the scans this time because OP scans came out with theirs earlier, and they had the same term of creator. So I think that's going to be interesting going forward. For that.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I guess there's kind of the creator in terms of the government, you know, in kind of a hyperbolic way of saying that, or is it more the universe per se? But definitely, yeah, Emu is getting more and more. I'd say stocks are laid over that Emu's going to be the final villain, I think, you know?
Yeah.
Which is a kind of a weird shift, I guess. I don't know if I like it right now. And I got to think it over more, you know? And we still have time to get introduced to Emu and characterization and stuff, but I think the characterization from Emu... Yeah, I mean, we just got introduced, you know, but obviously there really isn't much. And I think, obviously, Akainu and Blackbeard are more well developed in that department, you know?
Well, Emu's literally had one chapter before this of dialogue, so...
Yeah, and I'd say, like, I guess kind of the danger with this is I don't want it to be kind of like a Naruto situation, you know?
Oh, no, because literally Kaguya was never fucking introduced before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Oda's not that incompetent.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to say to the same degree, but it could. I'm not saying it is, but it could be in the same category of introducing a villain way too late in the series, kind of in the way, you know? of like compared to like introducing the villain way early on, in a way.
Maybe. Well, I think that's a good segue into, speaking of introducing late stage villains. We get introduced to the head of the God's Knights. So do you want to go over that?
Yeah, so his head looks like a moon, which is kind of interesting.
Yes.
So the moons strike again, and the former king of the land known as God Valley. So, and I know people are making the connection with his name with Shanks' bloodline and everything.
Yeah.
A la Film Red. And if he used to be the king of God Valley, is that how Shanks became a part of Roger's crew? Mm-hmm. Is that where he was found there and taken as an orphan or whatever, Mm-hmm. And then if Shanks is from this bloodline, of this really high bloodline, that's why he has a warm relationship with the 5 Elder Planets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of see this as being a connection there.
Yeah. So I think that basically confirms it. It's going to be so confusing for people who didn't see Film Red.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, why are people talking about Figureland?
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was interesting because he's specified as Saint Figureland, so he's a celestial dragon. So that if we take it that Shanks is his son, because I mean he looks the appropriate age, that would make Shanks a celestial dragon too, like we thought, because that would be the only reason. But I would almost think that. Well, I'm trying to remember, because I think in Film Red, this was only a couple weeks away. Because the Blu-ray's coming out soon. I could rewatch it, but I think in Film Red there's a flashback to Roger finding Shanks in a treasure chest, like Shanks found Uta. So, if that's the case, how did Shanks end up there? And his name's Figureland Garling. If Garling knows about his connection, I would assume so, because that's how Shanks has his contact with the Celestial Dragons and the Gorosei. But yeah, the whole thing with God Valley makes this even more tempting now, because we have a survivor that's not Shanks.
Yeah.
And yeah, that makes these God's Knights a little bit more fearful now. At least in my eyes.
So do you think that silhouette we saw of the God's Knights, that this was the one that looked like Shanks? Or do you think Shanks could still be one?
It's hard to say, because this is a very distinct silhouette with his hair. Although we're looking at him at a profile, but I kind of looked before. And their silhouettes they just kind of look normal. I'm just looking it up again. Yeah, the one in front just straight up looks like Shanks.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It would be a twist if he was, or if he. That wouldn't work, because I was going to say if he formerly was one, but he's been with Roger since basically he was born.
Unless he came back.
I don't know, because he's been pretty. Unless he has a twin. It's going to be the Sabo version of Shanks.
Ugh.
But yeah, this part got me the most excited about. From the rest of the chapter, even though the rest of the chapter was like really good as well. But yeah, the whole God Valley thing made me really excited. And then we see the death of Mjosgard. Rip.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm more convinced that Shanks is one, though, Because already this is kind of diminishing. Because I brought this up a couple of times on this podcast. Is all the Yonko are kind of frauds in a way, to an extent. You know, like Big Mom is like kind of loves her family, but she really hates her family and treats them like shit. You know, Kaido wants to die the ultimate death, but he's kind of been cheated out of it and all that kind of stuff too. And he's not really like actively trying to seek it out in a way, you know. And then you kind of have Whitebeard. He says, "I love to protect my family," but then he doesn't really like protect his family when it came to Odin or anything like that too, you know. And then Noah Shanks, he's kind of like the cool, like independent pirate, you know. No one can touch him, you know, and he's like the ultimate embodiment of what it means to be a pirate. But then he might kind of be the dog of the world government in a way.
Yeah, maybe. Just from my point of view, I read it that I don't think that I think he is definitely related, but I don't think that he's like, he might be like using his thing to like maybe not get caught. But that's the strange thing with Shanks, is that he is, how do I put it? He's not like an aggressive pirate taking over. Like, we never see him do like pillaging and stuff compared to like Kaido or Big Mom, like we've heard from them. Like, he has territories, but he seems more benevolent, and maybe he could get away with that more because he's a part of the Figureland family.
Whitebeard did the same thing though.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to me like Shanks is straight up evil.
I'm not saying evil. I just kind of think he's faking it a little bit. You know?
Tell that to his hockey.
Oh no, not by his power. I mean, that he isn't like a pure pirate as he makes himself up to be.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm talking more on a character level, you know? Like, Whitebeard cares about his family. Oh, Odin, see you later. Easy, see you later. You know?
I mean, I have to reread the Odin flashback, but I mean, he went off with I don't think he really knew what was going on. Because it went from Whitebeard to Roger, then Odin went from Whitebeard to Roger, and then back to Wano. So Whitebeard hadn't seen him in a while. To know what was going wrong. But yeah, I can see that with Kaido and Big Mom, but personally not me. I don't really see that with Shanks at this point.
Yeah, I get that, but I'd say like there is kind of this element of like, let's say, you know, like Squard, you know, stabbed Whitebeard and he still loved him, like through it, right? Now I think like that's a greater act of love. Like Odin just doing a little temporary change. Is he gonna stop being family? You know, Whitebeard's like, oh, it'd just be too much bloodshed, you know? And it's like, so Whitebeard's willing to fight the world government and the 7 warlords of the sea, right? But not a pre-Yonko Kaido, right?
Well, I don't think he knew that's what was going on.
But okay, like, well, I'd say like there's like an ambiguous thing there, right? You know, or like let's say like, what did he like want to get revenge once he heard of what happened to Odin, right? You know what I mean? So like when it comes to, he did know how scary and awful the world government would be, but he still went for it, right? And led to a lot of people dying, you know. But then when it comes to Wano, the threat's not nearly as big, you know. So why wouldn't he do it for Odin in a way? And to also help out Izu too. Izu as well, you know? And And you can even say the Minks as well. You know, this is like a part of their home. So I'm just trying to say, like, there's going to be this degree of like hypocrisy among all the Yonko, is what I mean. You know.
Yeah, I can. Like I said, I can see with Kaido and Big Mom, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess they're not as perfect as they seem.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of more it. You know, there's definitely an undercutting of expectations there.
Mm-hmm.
Which Oda's really big on doing. You know, like everybody thinks Luffy is this scary, terrible person, but then he's kind of Luffy. You know, and in a similar way with Shanks, like he's the great, he's the perfect person, most powerful. Nobody messes with him. But then he might like on a coolest thing about his character, he's like he's so pure. But what if Oda's like, okay, well, maybe not as pure as you think. He may still be ultimately overall good, but he has some compromising character qualities.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Yeah. Anyways, any closing thoughts?
Oh yeah, we're getting a month-long break so Oda can fix his eyes because we want him able to see to draw.
Yeah.
The end of the series, which is fine.
100%.
Yeah, it's the third great void month. Because
no,
we had one for the time skip, we had one for End of Wano, and that was this time last year, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow, Egghead's been going on for a year about.
Yeah, get in there.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess we'll come up with some topics to make some videos on while the chapters are running low.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good, and also thank you everyone for listening if you've been with us for a while, and please like and subscribe if you haven't, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.
See ya.